Hello everyone, my name is Legend Ronnie and this game is Rise of Kingdoms. One-on-one with 5 armies. This is what is this video about. How do you want to test your armies? How do you want to test your marchers to actually know if they will be really good on the battlefield, if they will combat ready, or whichever test you want. This is the best test you can do. 5 versus 5, be in the alliance, have the alliance bonuses. Try to level the stats as much as possible. Drop the king. So I am in the alliance, but I dropped the king title. So to try to level a little bit. We do have the high runes. We are still in the Lost Kingdom, but they do have the circles. So they have all the 4 circles. Now you can, if you don't know, one, the circle gives 3% all damage. One gives counter attack. I do have a 5% attack and defense. So it's kind of leveled up. But in the end, on an actual war situation. Right? When you're on the battlefield, on an actual war situation, you're not going to tell your enemy to drop king. You're not going to tell your enemy to drop his buffs or leave the alliance so you can do test. So this is basically the best test you can do. This is how you can properly test your armies on the battlefield. Now I had 3 tests that I have done with high its arc with this player. We are doing with T4 because he doesn't have enough T5s, and most people do have T4. So I'm playing the video at the beginning. I'm gonna show the reports and then I'm gonna talk a little bit about it. You're noticing, because you are watching the video and you are watching the battle from the beginning, or if you haven't noticed, I used YSG with Scipio Africanus. YSG and Scipio Africanus, not Scipio. So you have probably noticed that he quite survived for a very long time. That is the reason why I put him there, because first time I have fought with this player, and in general when I go on the battlefield, YSG is a target because he has quite a powerful AoE and he gets a lot of AoE value and he does a lot of severely wounded. So obviously when he's on the battlefield, 1 is Genghis Khan, 2 is YSGs. Those are usually the primary targets on a battlefield because they are really squishy, they go down really fast. So I've noticed when I fought with him first time that he kinda knocked out my YSG pretty fast. I did 1 for the record and I won the other one, the third one as well, but he knocked down my YSG pretty fast. So I said I need to put something tanky. I was thinking about Frederick. I have a maxed out Frederick, but I was like, Frederick doesn't give me any defense. He does give me 30,000 more archers, which is quite alright. It's phenomenal. He has a little bit of healing, which does help a lot, but in the end I needed something that would reduce my damage. So my only viable option was Scipio, because I knew that they were gonna swarm him, and Scipio also have his second skill, which increase damage by 100% for 2 seconds, and then you have YSG second skill, which increase archers attack by 100% for 3 seconds. So I was like, if they're gonna swarm my YSG and both skills gonna pop up, that's gonna be some serious nuke on everyone around it, right? Plus Scipio does increase counter attack and reduce damage with his primary. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong to increase the survivability of YSG. I'm not saying that Scipio is gonna be a best pair now for YSG, but to increase his survivability, that was a very viable option. So look at that, 5 versus 5 armies. I won with 3 marchers left. This is because my YSG managed to survive for that long. In the first battle I had with this player, I was left with 2 marchers, and in the third one I had with this player, I was left again with 3 marchers. So I improved, right? You improve. I didn't have 5 static marchers. He also tried different marchers as well. So every time I fought with him, he also did change his marchers as well. Now let's put the records up, which I believe it should be this video. Yep. So this is my Genghis and Saladin versus his Charles and Scipio. So Charles and Scipio is again a very good tanky combination. You have the maximum counterattack, which is 30% if Charles is maxed, and another 25% from Scipio. That's 55% counterattack increased damage, which again is a very tanky build. That's the reason why he was left for the last. Now this is my Minamoto and Double C. So you're already noticing a difference, because you're probably wondering, okay, so how can you actually test your marchers? This is how you actually test your marchers. If they are good, if they are working on the battlefield. You can check the severely wounded. One, you can check the severely wounded your marchers have, and you can check the severely wounded you're dealing to the marchers you're hitting. So if I go a little bit back, like 4 seconds, you're noticing that it's 22,000 severely wounded to Charles and Scipio, with 5,300 severely wounded to me, and then you have 6,100 severely wounded and 17,000. So Minamoto and Double C, they have done way less damage, even though Double C, we all know there's like 55% cav attack increase with rage restoration healing. You know, it's a very powerful nuking setup, very squishy. Minamoto and Double C, don't get me wrong, very squishy and very powerful nuking, but in the end, Genghis and Saladin, they've done way better work on Charles and Scipio. So this is exactly how you test your marchers. You have the test 5-on-5 with the player not out of the alliance. You need to be in the alliance, because again, on an actual war situation, you're not going to ask your enemy to leave your alliance. And then once you have the battle, either you won and you lost, you can compare the severely wounded, and then you can measure how your marchers have done. Alright, so this is Beibers and Sun Tzu. So you're noticing that it's even less severely wounded down to the enemy with Beibers and Sun Tzu. Now you're probably wondering why. That is because this build is made for group damage. Now imagine if they would have hit 5 targets in the same time, because they don't have any penalty for hitting multiple targets like YSG does. Mehmet has a penalty as well, which as more targets he hits. Beibers and Sun Tzu, they do not. Now imagine if they would have hit 5 targets for this long. These numbers would have gone a little bit higher, and there would have been a little bit more reports. Now this is my Pelagius and Ethelfled, that obviously they got defeated on this one against Genghis and Belisarius. So you're probably wondering that why would he put Genghis and Belisarius? That's such a weird combo. It is. It actually is. But because on our first try he used Genghis Khan and Double C, and it actually went down just like that. So he wanted to try something more tanky, and from my experience after the first round with him, Genghis and Belisarius, it was a little bit more tanky. They did survive a little bit longer. So for that point of view, for him trying to survive longer on the battlefield, so his other marchers can deal more damage, this was an actual success, using Genghis and Belisarius. I'm not saying that Belisarius is a best pair for Genghis as a second, because he's not. The best one you can put if you want to make Genghis Khan more tankier is Saladin, like I used. And here it is, because with his infantry he was targeting my calves, so now he's doing a lot of severely wounded to me. There you go, 20,000 severely wounded versus 7,200. 41,000 severely wounded to me versus 11,000. Maximum counterattack damage from Charles and Scipio. So from the beginning, so you guys can understand, or you can go back and check the video, his Charles and Sun Tzu, they were on my Pelagius full time. This is the reason why I have so many severely wounded with Pelagius and Ethelfled. I was with all 5 marchers on the same target, so he put the infantry on calves, and with the rest of the marchers he targeted my archers. So quite a lot of severely wounded to me. And then this is probably side kicking, which is Ethelfled and John. This is for debuffing and buffing level 60 Ethelflaed, and I believe that I cannot click Turp's buff. I believe that she's max skill. Everyone has a max skill Ethelflaed. I didn't on this video, just for the record. I didn't. I can only max her today. And again, this is sidekick Minamoto and double C. So this is how my debuffing team done. Now, if you're wondering why did I put Pelagius with Ethelflaed, that's because Pelagius is quite a little bit tankier. It also has healing. I also have calves, rage restoration. It's not a bad combination, to be honest, if you're doing it from the point of debuffing and just to have a very mobile unit on the battlefield with debuffing. So that's why I put Pelagius with Ethelflaed. Now this is Genghis and Saladin against his Genghis and Belisarius. 2,500 versus 21,000. I think this is when I hit his Ethelflaed and John, because I was trying to continue the battlefield. If you know how to time perfect switching the targets, the commanders don't interrupt the report. This is something that probably takes a little bit longer to explain, but pretty much you should have an idea what I'm trying to say. So on an actual battlefield situation, if you're switching the target so fast when one dies, you know it's like a 1-2 seconds delay before it gets to the server and when it actually happens. But if you know to do it on the right time, they switch the target and they don't interrupt the battle report. On the same time, they don't interrupt the rage bar. So you can actually switch your target on another target and start doing kill damage. This takes time to master it, but once you do on an actual war situation or a battlefield situation, it is very, very helpful. This is again Genghis and Saladin versus Sun Tzu and Alexander. So again, 20,000 severely wounded, and against Minamoto and Double C, 25,000 severely wounded. So he didn't focus on Genghis Khan and Saladin at all. All this was just sidekick. Now this is by Minamoto and Double C. You're noticing they have done less severely wounded. So obviously Genghis and Saladin, again, they are proving to be very, very worthy. This is just one. So I couldn't continue on that one. This is Beibers and Sun Tzu. Again, only single target. So my Beibers and Sun Tzu was not positioned very, very well, because apparently they were hitting just one target at a time. This is YSG and Scipio. So obviously my primary target was Genghis Khan and Belisarius. I wanted to take down his Genghis Khan. Probably if I would have knew he has Minamoto and Double C, I would have gone for Minamoto. Would have probably been a much better choice. But look at that, YSG and Scipio versus Cavs, because he was obviously targeting my YSG. 9,300 versus 11,000. But here comes the pain. Minamoto and Double C against my archers. 26,000 severely wounded to me, 11,000 severely wounded to him. So this kinda hurt a little bit. Then Sun Tzu and Alexander, surprising, 80,000 to me, 6,000 to him. Then this is sidekick, because YG does AoE, 6,300, and this one doesn't show, you know, it's gone because this is defeated. And I believe the other ones are from this is Minamoto and Double C. When I hit his Minamoto and Double C, yes. This is Beibers and Sun Tzu on Minamoto and Double C. So there you go. My reports could have been even better, but my Beibers and Sun Tzu, they were not doing AoE. So it was 5 versus 5, but my Beibers and Sun Tzu, they were not positioned well, and they were not hitting multiple targets. 2,000 Genghis and Belisarius. Alright, so here they were hitting multiple targets. But as I was keep switching, there you go, 11,000. But as I was keep switching, they changed their position and they were not doing group damage. This is against Ethelflaed and John again. Naoto and Double C. And I think that's pretty much about it, because the other one, they are way older. I think so. Or I might just go in the other battle. Right. So the whole point about this is how you can test, and this is how you can tell if some of your marchers perform well or performed actually good on the battlefield. From my point of view, I'm not so happy about Minamoto and Double C, and I'm not so happy about Pelagius and Ethelflaed. But in the end, I use Pelagius and Ethelflaed for debuffing and a possible target. I'm not using them for dealing damage. They do some damage, that's fine. And I'm disappointed about Minamoto and Double C, considering the amount of attack they bring to their cabs, and they actually have powerful nukes. I was expecting a little bit more from them, but I'm not actually getting what I'm hoping for. So I'll definitely need to look onto that, and I'm probably gonna twitch around a little bit my builds as well. Now let's get back into the game, and let's look a little bit on commanders. So I did use Scipio Africanus with YSG. As I mentioned, it's about the second skill from Scipio, which grants his troops increase 15% chance to increase troops attack by 100% for the next 2 seconds. Now you combine that with YSG, which Archer attack bonus 100% for 3 seconds. Now if all these two combine, that can be some powerful sidekick when people swarm you, or at least YSG can do some powerful AoE with his primary skill. Anyway, my whole point of putting Scipio second to YSG on this try was to make him tankier. I did use Edward on my first try. I did use Edward and YSG, and my god, Edward hits like a train. I'm telling you. I'm using him. I'm usually using him, Edward, with YSG on the battlefield, and he does hit like a freaking train. But I've noticed that on my try with High Its Arc, by the way, thank you very much if you're watching this video for the battles. I've noticed when I used Edward primary with YSG second, it kind of went down pretty fast, because again I survived with only 2 marches on our first try. So I was like, I need to change something. So that change, I put Edward on the back seat. So I use YSG and Scipio. I'm not sure if this, is a good advice to actually use on the actual battlefield. But what I'm trying to say, and as a final for this video, is that you can optimize your build if you're noticing problems on the battlefield. So probably you don't have this plethora of legendaries or this handful of legendaries to play around with, or to keep swapping around, but I do have epics. So one complaint from players that I'm getting is about Hermann and Osman. Well, it's very clear, using Hermann and Osman, there's no defensive option, there's no defensive capabilities using Hermann and Osman. You don't have nada defense. This is a pure nuking march. So if you're noticing that you're having problem with Hermann and Osman, because people are just targeting them every time and they just fill up your hospital, 1, you can stop using them. 2, you can try, for example, to put Scipio as a second to Hermann, give them a little bit of surprise, to be more tankier, or use your archers with, for example, Kusunoki primary and Scipio secondary. Why not? If you still want to make use of your archers, or just don't bring them. So you need to assess your own results about your marches on the battlefield, so you can get the best results. You just go with 4 marches, or you just go with 3 marches. If you're noticing that one of your marches is actually not performing well, and then you try to modify it in the future. That's exactly what I'm doing as well every single time on the battlefield. I'm keep changing and modifying my builds every single time, even in the same day war. So in a same day war, my enemy noticed, for example, I'm using Genghis Khan in double C, which is an awesome build, right? An awesome pair. Everyone knows Genghis Khan in double C, very strong, very powerful. But my enemy noticed they are very squishy, and they are. And they notice that. And what they do, they start focusing my Genghis Khan. Now, if I notice that they start focusing my Genghis Khan, I just swap with Saladin. I put double C with someone else. I put Minamoto in double C. I noticed they noticed that my Minamoto is getting weaker, or he's a squishy target. Then I change double C from Minamoto. I put someone else. Maybe I put Belisarius, or I don't know, even Scipio. So I switch around commanders every single time, depending on the reaction on the battlefield. So you don't necessarily need to have 5 static marchers on the battlefield. You can always change them, just add commanders. On my third try with its Arc, I used Edward with Joan of Arc, even though you might thinking, bro, that's that's wrong. I mean, Edward hits once every 15 seconds, you need John to keep popping buff, right? That's true. That's actually true. But I was hoping that he's gonna target Edward, because on our first try, Edward went down. So I was like, you know, for as long as Edward is gonna survive, if he's gonna get swarmed, he's gonna generate a lot of rage, and Joan of Arc is just gonna buff a lot. Because when a march is getting targeted, by multiple marches, they do actually generate more rage. So I was like, you know what, John is just gonna continue buffing and buffing and buffing, and then I don't care, whenever Edward goes down, it goes down, but at least my other marches will get more rage and will get more bonuses, because I also had YSG with Frederick. So whichever of the 2 marches he was trying to focus first, which that was my hope, that he's gonna focus one of these 2 marches. They are semi-tanking, you know, they have a little bit of healing, a lot of troops, or they will be just helpful for the other marches. Now, his prime mistake was not focusing my YSG and Frederick. I think I settled, and I had the third march, which was Genghis and Saladin, and that's the one they focused. And Genghis and Saladin, they survived for a very, very long time. You're noticing his equipment is green and blue, so it's also very, very well equipped, and they are very tanky, Genghis and Saladin together. And he was focusing that march, so obviously my archers, they were ravaging, you know, they were going ham on him. It was a really, really good try to use the archers. So again, you can change your marches all the time. You don't need to have static marches. You just need to assess all the time the severely wounded, you know, and that's how you can actually know if they perform well. And the severely wounded they are doing to your enemies, or how fast they go down, because you're there, you have your marches selected, and you see the hell bar, how fast it goes down. So if one march goes down so fast, then you're noticing something is not right. This is the best test that you can do if you want to check your war marches. You do 5 versus 5 with your friends. You're in the alliance, shrines, buffs, whatever you want. This is the best actual test, you know, full marches and all that. That's exactly what we've done. That's how you can test the strength of your army, and you can monitor their performance for future battles. Now, I hope this video is helpful, and I hope you do understand what I'm trying to say, or what I did show you in this video, or the purpose of the video. This is one reason why I don't do 1 versus 1. This is the same reason, because how 5 marches perform in an actual war situation, and 1 versus 1 when people leave the alliance, they don't have buffs, they don't have nothing, they have same stats. There's 2 different tests. Alright, so I hope now you get it, why I'm not doing 1 versus 1 test, because this is 2 completely different things. Until next time, this is your boy Legend Ronnie, signing off. Peace out, yo, and take care.